Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know that this is my deep dive into a wonderfully expanding and intriguing deck called the Egyptian Tarot by C.C. Zane and the Brotherhood of Light. And I say it's intriguing because it's a very different system from the one that I was reared on. The systems based on the Golden Dawn system. For example, the Rider-Waite-Smith, the Smith-Waite, the deck drawn by Pamela Coleman Smith, and all of the iterations and generations of that kind of deck. And also the Thoth deck, the Harris Crowley and Alistair the Harris Crowley deck, and all of the iterations of that deck, although there are fewer of those. I'm familiar with those a little bit more, and this is a different system. And so I've had this deck sitting on my shelf for well, actually probably a couple of years now, waiting for me to be ready to dive into it. And finally, the time has arrived. And I've done about 26 days of dive into this deck, and I will continue doing this dive until the new moon in February, which would be about 50 days, although there won't be 50 videos. And so, what do I do? Just in case you are new to this channel, let me give you an overview of my process. Every night before I go to bed, I shuffle my mass market colored version of the Egyptian Tarot, because I don't worry about damaging it, because I can replace it, and I pull a daily draw. The question that I'm thinking to myself when I pull that daily draw is, what would I benefit from giving my attention to in the following day? Very general question. And then I look at that card, and I pull the matching card in my very out of print charcoal gray and white deck of the same Egyptian Tarot. And I look for differences, and there are usually some differences. Sometimes they're very different. And then I ask for help from another deck that I'm more familiar with. I'm not completely fluent in that deck because it is also a different system. It's based on the Continental Tarot. I use the Tarot of the Holy Light by Christine Payne-Towler. Beautiful deck, beautiful creator. And I do a 3-card spread with that deck. The first card gives me the significance of the daily draw card for me for the following day. The second card is the challenge, which could be a positive challenge, something to reach for, to aim for, or a more challenging challenge, a negative challenge, something that would be perhaps an obstacle. And then the third card is advice. Now, 3-card spread. Significance, challenge, advice. And then I go to sleep and I wake up, and the next day I live my day, and at the end of the day I come back and I analyze the draw that I had and do this video, which is what I'm doing now. So friends, I've got the 2-card first. Let's go with, well, the 1 card, 2 versions of the 1 card pull for you right now. Let's take a look. You just saw the Hierophant in 2 different versions of the Egyptian Tarot. Did you notice the differences? Here, let me show them to you again. There they are. And you can see that in addition to the fact that the line work on the older deck, the charcoal gray and white deck, is kind of smudgy, so it's difficult to see what the lines are, especially up here at the top with the Egyptian symbol with the wings and the sphere in the center. A symbol that I often associate with Isis, though frankly I would need to do some research to see if that actually is an Isis symbol or not. But I think of that for Isis primarily because of, did you ever see the TV series, probably from the 70s, called Isis? Yeah. The lead actress was a teacher in I think an elementary school, maybe a high school, and she had discovered this amulet in Egypt, and when she put it on and she said, "Oh, mighty Isis," she becomes the goddess Isis. Did you ever see that? The amulet that she wore, no, it wasn't the same, but No, it wasn't the same. The wings, it was just the sphere in the center. Okay, no, it wasn't the same. Never mind. Still, the winged sphere makes me think of Isis, and maybe it's probably Horus. I don't know. So don't take my word for it. But it's hard to see that image in the charcoal gray and white deck. But there are other differences. Do you notice those differences? Yeah, the central figure looks the same, basically. The columns look the same. But the two kneeling figures, do you see a difference there? In the colored deck, they both look similar. The clothes are different colors, but they look very similar. In the charcoal gray and white deck, the two figures, one looks like a black figure, one looks like a white figure. And frankly, I prefer this one to this one. I prefer this one. Can you imagine why I prefer the older version of the card? It's because those two kneeling figures, and when I think of the Hierophant, I think of the Hierophant as paired with the High Priestess, or the Popess. The Pope and the Popess, the Hierophant and the High Priestess. I find that they are pairs which bracket the pair of the Emperor Empress. That's my thing. And so having these figures, one white and one black, echoes for me the idea of the two pillars behind or beside the High Priestess, one of them being white and one of them being black, one of them being Boaz, one of them being Boaz and Jacob? No, it's not Jacob. It starts with a J, but anyways, those two pillars, so those two pillars are probably not part of the Egyptian tarot. I don't recall right now. Probably should have checked on that. But the white figure and the black figure in this card make me think of that. That makes me think of that echo of the High Priestess in the Hierophant card, which I like. I really like that. Except for that, and yeah, there are some decorative elements that are different. The line around the card, between the card image and the border, one is more of an ellipse and one is more square. At the bottom of the color card, there's a bar with bands in it. I mean, there are those differences, certainly. But the primary thing that is different to me is the skin tone of the two kneeling, I would say acolytes, perhaps. So I prefer this card a little bit more. And you saw at the top that the association for this card is Jupiter in this system. So the Hierophant, card 5, is associated with Jupiter. And also, yes, okay, so we're going to leave it at that. The Hierophant points to Jupiter, which resides in both Sagittarius and Pisces, which have mutable fire and water vital attributes entering our world. Now, so Jupiter, beaming through its natural domiciles of Sagittarius and Pisces, beams through into our world through the both mutable fire and water, which is a good balance, right? Jupiter, expansiveness, abundance, generosity, luck sometimes. Jupiter is this big, expansive, gaseous planet, right? And so we have all of that wrapped up with the Hierophant here. And as I was looking at that, and I was thinking that, oh, that's interesting. Jupiter beams through two of the mutable zodiac signs, right? And then I was thinking, well, what is Jupiter's partner? Well, the way I think of Jupiter and his partner, I think of his partner as being Mercury. Now, what are the domiciles for Mercury, you may ask? The domiciles for Mercury are Gemini and Virgo, also mutable signs. So both Jupiter and Jupiter's partner Mercury, those two planets are all of the mutable signs, which is interesting. And for me, that really strengthens my pairing of those two planets even more than before, because they're natural, mutable pairs. Now, you don't get that with the fixed signs, and you don't get that with the cardinal signs, only the mutable ones. And I think that's really fascinating. And so I just told you. And we will move right along. So we've got Jupiter beaming through those two mutable signs for fire and water. And Pisces is my moon sign, just in case you forgot. So what does the Hierophant mean for us, or especially for me, for today? Well, the associations in the guidebooks for this deck, these decks, were things like help through inspiration. Yeah, there's that spiritual connection there, inspiration, the incoming of spirit, the Numen, realization from intelligence and will, mind and, so we've got this and this, the sacral chakra, the solar plexus chakra of will, and the third eye chakra of mind coming together. We've got meditation bringing enlightenment. Who wouldn't want that? Success through good judgment, fortunate influences, the fortune of Jupiter, strength from developing willpower, and eventual success. So we've got the idea of realization from our intelligence and will, but also our developing willpower gives us strength and eventual success. And there are favors from professionals indicated here. Goodwill leads to justice, the goodwill of Jupiter. Jupiter is one of the beneficent planets, right? And materialism bars progress. Avoid overindulgence is one of the cautions of this card. So we've got this idea of will, intellect, realizations, success being gained, fortunes increasing, goodwill leading to justice, which is a really cool set of things that are potentials for me for one day, right? I think so. So we've got that card. And I'm still playing with those ideas in my mind as I'm processing my day with you right here. So we got that. And then I got 3 cards that would help me unpack that daily draw. Let me show you those three cards right now. You saw that I got, as my 3-card spread from left to right, for the significance was the Page of Swords. For the challenge, there was the 8 of Swords, 2 swords right next to each other. And then as the advice, I had the Lover's card reversed. Now, if you were here with me yesterday, you would have remembered that the 2 of the cards for my 3-card spread were 2 of the other pages. One was the Page of Discs and one was the Page of Wands. So now we've got the Page of Swords. I've got 2 days of a lot of pages. There's only 1 left out so far. And the Page of Swords is the page for fall. The pages in the Tarot of the Holy Light are indicators of seasons. And so the Page of Swords is fall. And here, let me show you this beautiful card here. We've got the page, a beautiful page, holding 2 alchemical symbols. And then we've got the sun and the moon in the corners. We've got, what else we have? We've got wings, gray wings on this page. A very youthful looking page compared to some of the others. And yet, this is the Page of Fall. And pages in this deck are also the servants of the queens of their suit. So the Page of Swords is the servant of the Queen of Swords. And who is the Page of Swords in this deck? Especially, who is the Page of Swords in relationship as an unpacking of the Hierophant for me? Yeah, the Hierophant of realizations from intelligent meditation, bringing enlightenment, success through good judgment, fortune, influences, favors, goodwill leading to justice. This page is a go-to translator and envoy between camps, between communities, and between individuals. This is the go-between. This is the mediator. This is the translator of the realm. This page also travels in humble attire, a plainclothes guise to disguise his standing in court. Why would he do that? Why would she do that? Why would they do that? Well, he, she, they would do that because that's the best way to gather information. Now, if you walk around in courtly regal attire, you're not going to be able to get close to the people you want to gain information from. So that's one of this page's strategies. And in fact, this page is a student of strategy. This page is the one who learns about chess and how to engage people and how to get the things that they and the queen want through organizing and creating interactions in the world. Communication as well. Because this page is also the ultimate messenger. And often the messenger who gets shot, right? He's well networked to gather information. He, she, they have their nets out and their lines of communication out. They're all linked in. And they perceive people's minds for what's to come. They're not exactly the mind reader of the Page of Cups per se, but they can perceive people's thought patterns in a different way. Whereas the Page of Cups is more mystical and psychic, perhaps. This page is the one who is perceptive, can see the tics on the face, can see the tells that people have when they lie, who can see and hear tones of voice which can ring either true or false, right? This page is observant. Because the air, the mind, the eyes, the ears, they're all placed in the same part of the head, or the same part of the body, I should say. So this page is reminding us that it may be time to sharpen our focus and get things done before the winter freeze comes, because this is the fall. And as it is the fall, as it is there's one side of the calendar that is the expansion into summer. And then after the expansion into summer, we have the fall into winter, right? And that fall, whereas the movement towards summer is expansion, the movement towards winter is contraction and narrowing of things, right? So this is the field of the narrowing of things. We are in the fall of decreasing power. Whereas we move into the solar time of increasing power, our power is now decreasing, but it's there and asks for more focus. We're moving down the pillar of severity to ground zero in Malkuth, in this suit, in this page especially. So we've got the idea of our power not gone, but decreasing and asking for focus, listening, being observant, learning strategy and implementing strategy and communication and translating people's thoughts and words into useful information bits perhaps. Which, as an unpacking of this, might make sense, right? Yeah. We get help through that communication, through that perception. We can get realizations from our perception in addition to our will and our own intelligence. And it's that reading of things that is our intelligence, right? There are fortunate influences around us from our interactions with people, from our communications, from being able to sidle up to people and gain information from them. So those things kind of seem to work together fairly well, I think. Don't you? And so what is the challenge for me? The challenge for me here is the Eight of Swords, which in most decks is a fairly upsetting card, perhaps not as upsetting as the Nine of Swords or the Ten of Swords, particularly in the Smith-Waite deck, drawn by Pamela Coleman Smith. The Eight of Swords in that deck is the female presenting figure bound up with a blindfold in a mostly fully formed circle of swords. But it's looking like if they would just give it a try, they'd be able to get out of that bind if they wanted to. But still, we've got the idea of bondage, perhaps self-imposed bondage, or the bondage of our own thoughts. We got something else with this Eight of Swords. And let me show you. We still have the idea of perhaps the swords forming some kind of a barrier, kind of a grid, perhaps of, you could even see it as a prison grid, right? And do you notice that one sword has a drop of blood on it? Where is it? There is this one. This one has pricked this plant and is dripping a little bit of red blood. So there's a little bit of danger, a little bit of pain here. But what do we have for associations? We have here the Aquarius decadent of Pisces, which is which also has Saturn, yes. The Eight of Swords points to the Aquarius decadent of Gemini and its sub-ruler Saturn, from which the fixed aspect of mutable air, vital attributes, enters our world. So Saturn is beaming through its natural habitat of Aquarius, the Aquarius decadent of Gemini, through the house of Gemini into our lives, into our natal charts, into the situation that we're asking about. So we've got Saturn beaming through its home of Aquarius in Gemini. And that's interesting, right? Saturn is fairly harsh, a father figure, the borders, the cutting off of things, you got it, you better do right. It's a rather harsh planet. Moving through Aquarius, which is the far-seeing, the sign, right? So here we have also an exaltation, yeah? An exaltation because it's upright, of Mercury in Venus. And Mercury in Venus, Mercury is in their home in Venus. So the Eight of Swords in this deck is subtitled The Test. Now, the test, something that we can either pass or not pass, a situation that requires us to step up and do right and succeed, or perhaps fail. Or a gauntlet that needs to be run. So unlike, wow, upright, that was weird, upright, we get the idea that we are likely to pass the test based on implementing our will, our instincts, and our mind. Again, will, mind, instincts. This being this, embodying this will help with this, will help me pass the test, which makes this seem like a card to aim for, a meaning to aim for, to strive for, that kind of a challenge, rather than an obstacle challenge, which many of us would consider a test to be. Oh, you're testing me, that's an obstacle. I think this test is an obstacle for something to achieve and to accomplish. Which is beautiful, because we do have these Eight Swords, we've got the moon below, we've got the sun above, we've got these flowering plants on the sides. It's a lovely card. So here, results may help us attain an improved reputation as well. So if we succeed in this test, we will be appreciated more. We will be seen as better than we have been seen. So Saturn in Aquarius of Gemini here. Now remember, Gemini is a little bit flighty. Gemini is likes to follow the shiny objects. Gemini is a little bit of a magpie. It's sometimes of two minds, right? So Saturn in this Aquarian portion of Gemini is demanding excellence. You get your crap together and you do your best. You focus, brother, you focus. Which is good, which is a good thing to remember. It doesn't have to be seen as harsh, but rather, come on, snap into it, snap to it. This isn't time to dawdle or to get distracted. Let's focus. And I tell my students that often in this camp, let's focus. Let's put our minds to something, because I know that when we do, we can accomplish very good things. Not because you're being bad, but because we will be better if we do that. So still, it's with this card, it may be time to evaluate who we are taking the test for. Are we taking the test for our own benefit to shine, to put ourselves to the test to see what we can accomplish? Or are we trying to live up to somebody else's desires or perceptions, or is mommy telling us that we better do a good job, or is daddy telling us we've got to pass the test? Are we doing it for other people, or are we doing it for ourselves? Or how are we doing it for other people? Are we doing it in order to get the pats on the backs, or are we doing it in order to help other people? Like if we're taking this test, if we're trying to do this challenge for the betterment of other people, that's something else entirely. Something very different from doing it for mommy and daddy so that we'll get a chocolate, or that we'll get the recognition that we feel like we are not getting if we don't pass the test. You know what I mean? So we want to recognize why we are taking this test in the first place. And recall that this test is not for the psycho-spiritually immature. Now, the test that we're about to face is not for the weak of heart. It's not for the faint of spirit. This is a test to test our mettle, as they say. These challenges will add to our evolution. So these aren't the simple tests of something that we're sure to win or sure to succeed at because they're so easy and it's just a little test. This is something that will really test our abilities, our mettle. And as such, will add to our evolution. And remember, we had that Mercury in Virgo here. So Mercury in Virgo is being asked to get their head straight and focus on details. So that's the challenge for me, that I can pass the test if I focus on details, if I do the things, if I pay attention, and I use my willpower, my instincts, and my intellect to get through it, which is a good message, I think, a very good challenge. And then, as advice, what do I get? I get the Lovers reversed. What a card to get in reverse. And in reverse, upright and reversed. Let me show you upright. Upright, we've got the two couples above and the one couple above, the one couple below. The one couple above is standing beneath the tree. They looked very friendly. The couple below in the water, in the emotions, right? In the unconscious, the ones that are not fully submerged in the unconscious, no, but they are partially immersed in the unconscious and the emotions, and they are in a very passionate embrace down in the water, below, out of the view of many. And we got the city up above and the hills, we got plants on the side, we've got this grotto, someplace to duck away and have a passionate moment, or 2 or 10 or 20 or 1,000 of 1,000 nights. So upright and reversed, this is Venus in Taurus. Now this is Taurus, is what I should say. Upright or reversed, this is Taurus. The bull, but also the appreciator of the material, right? The slow mover, but the one that enjoys having things and having a home and having a comfort, enjoys the senses. And the couple in the water seem to really be enjoying their senses at the moment, right? Which is good on them, great for them. And the Lovers point to Taurus, which is the domicile of Venus, from which these fixed earth vital attributes can enter our world. Yeah, fixed earth through Taurus. With Venus, the joiner, the lover, the beauty of Venus. So we have this charged Eros magic that coalesces between subject and object. And object, for me, this is subject, that is object. For you, that is subject, this is object, right? So there's this magic, this Eros magic that can coalesce between us, whether it's actually a sexual lover relationship, or it's a relationship of affinity or of mutual interest. It could be many things, right? And this charged Eros magic that coalesces adds power to the magic that we can do together in the manifested world as an in union of Venus. Now in reverse, we still have Venus in Taurus, but that also reminds me of, so Venus in Taurus, that is the domicile, one domicile. So in reverse of that domicile, we could get what was called a similar, which would be Venus in Libra, also a domicile, but on the other side of the chart. Yeah, Taurus is on the descending, the mother pillar, the wet way, and Libra is on the dry path of ascension, of mercy, reaching up for mercy. So let's see if we get some of those echoes in the reading of this card. Reversed, perhaps two similarly charged ends of a magnet meet and repel each other. That could be part of this, the repelling part. Which doesn't really seem like Venus in Libra, does it? No, it doesn't. But it could be part of this. That sometimes reversed cards do mean opposites, whereas the upright is the drawing together of things, the reversed could be the separating of things. Or that things are not, that the timing for the drawing together is not ripe yet. And timing is very important for relationships, love relationships, or any kind of relationship. Perhaps it's time to give more attention instead to our own inner love relationship with self, with the eternal nature that we are, with the divine, with Sophia, also an aspect of the divine. So that when the elements of the world do line up, we are more prepared, I should say, to engage fully with the other in a relationship here in the physical realm. Now, the more right we are with God, the more we'll be able to shine and bask the other with love and be open to receiving love from the other. So it could be time for us to get right with God, with Sophia, with the eternal nature of self, which might be more of that Venus in Libra aspect, maybe. We are called to evolve into the one who experiences the manifestation of a relationship. Does that make sense? Because all of our relationships can improve. That's just a given. No matter how good we think our relationship is, there's always room for improvement. There's always room for depth, for more maturity, for a ripening. And how do we do that? We evolve into the ones who experience the more mature, the more ripened relationship. That development is the development of our evolution as it's reflected in our relationship, right? So this card is asking us to evolve. We may also think of our focus on the love relationship with the divine as the process of turning the card right side up. So we're not ready for this, and we are this, and to get from this to this, we can focus on our relationship with the divine, with the fullness of self. And as we do that, this card can right itself and allow us to open to the relationship that we have now evolved to the point where we can fully experience. Does that make sense? So that's the advice, I think, for me, is to do that opening, to do that inner work. Because that's what this card is pointing to, I think. Now, the Hierophant, the one who is connected to the divine from above, the greater, the Also traditions, yes. I mean, I don't want to leave aside those ideas of the one who is the keeper of tradition, the one who is the communicator to the divine spirit of the heavens, the one who is the teacher of their flock or their group or their students of spirit or of other educational institutions. I mean, I could also see myself as a Hierophant, a teacher in an institution. I think that's also part of this card, even in this system, where it is associated with Jupiter, the father figure of the planets also. Well, of course, yes, Saturn is the ultimate father figure. Saturn is the father of Jupiter, right? Not a great relationship, but still, Saturn is the ultimate father figure. And yet, Jupiter is also a father. He's a bloody playboy, true, but yes, he's the father of many, many, many beings. So yeah, those are the things that are running around in my brain as I start to think about my day as it has passed. And my day as it has passed today has been not all that... Well, okay, let me tell you. The day started off fine, breakfast, and then I spent the first 4 hours of the morning helping to oversee an indoor curling match between all of the students in almost all of the students in the camp. So we went up to the gymnasium, and we had these curling stones, which are actually discs on rollers, and then they rolled the discs, kind of more like shuffleboard, but anyways, they called it curling, and they rolled the discs forward to a target. And that's how they kept score. What part of this, if they got onto the target, if they stopped on the target, I should say, and then what part of the target, what part of the rings did they get to? And so at the beginning it was fun, but after 4 hours of upper elementary and low middle school students doing this and not really sitting there and patiently, quietly being attentive and rooting for their team, they're just having fun off on the sides, and that was great, but it was really tiring after a while. So maybe that was part of that Hierophant teacher kind of thing. I spent a lot of my time with the kids there. I rooted for some of my classes. I was surprised at how many of my classes had advanced to the upper ranks. They didn't win, but they got up to the semifinals and the finals, and that was pretty cool. I had 3 classes from out of 17, and of my 3 classes, 2 of them got into the semifinals. 1 of them got into the finals. No, they got into the semifinals. And I thought that was pretty damn good, especially since they were elementary school students and they were competing against the middle school students. So, hey, there we go. I was really proud of them. And then after that, what did I do? I had lunch, and then we had to organize some of the materials from, as we've ended our activities in the camp, the storytelling activities. We had to organize the leftover materials that we had, put them in storage. Didn't take that long. Came down, started working on this. And then I got the urge to text somebody that I had heard. I mentioned this somebody last video, maybe the video before. And I'd gotten the impression from a friend that this other friend may be more open to interactions, shall I say, than I thought was possible. And so I sent a photo of myself, and I got a photo back. And while I want to be very careful, because I value the friendship, although it's not really a deep friendship yet, I value the relationship we already have, which is kind, it's gentle, it's helpful, it's very nice. But seeing that there might be a potential for more, I want to be careful that I have not misunderstood and I don't destroy things, right? So I'm being very careful in sending out hinty messages, and I'm getting interesting hinty messages back, but nothing really clear. So there's part of that, my maybe feeling my way through. But then I've also needed to write a speech for tomorrow. I'm the representative faculty member at the closing ceremony to give a short speech to those attending the closing ceremonies for this winter camp. So I wrote that speech out, and I was going to try and wing it, and then I decided no, I shouldn't wing it. But that could be part of that the testing thing that I'm preparing for. I'm preparing for this test of completing that. And as I was typing that out and I was preparing this, the time came for me to bring my laptop down to one of the managers, the leaders of the camp. There's a leader who has stepped down as the primary manager and has given the managerial tasks over to another person, and that person is really in charge of the camp, but the previous person in charge is still here and is still managing from the sides, giving the new manager some support from the sides. And so that was the person I had to give my laptop to today. And I'd heard this interesting thing that this person had told another person, which was overheard by one of my friends, that I was, according to my friend, one of the best, or practically the best teacher here as far as interacting with the kids. My ability to manage and work with the kids was the best in the camp, which was very interesting to hear. And he might have misunderstood, but that was how the message was related to me. So I did get a moment of that. Favors from professionals, reputation enhancement there, kind of. Yeah. So when I went to give my laptop to him, he started asking me, what do I think of the program? Are there ways that I thought I could improve on the program? There are very limited positions for teachers for that program. There are many more teachers for other programs. For the storytelling team, there have traditionally been only 3 teachers, and I was asked to join at the last minute as a 4th teacher for this camp. And so I wasn't sure even if I did get to come back, I wouldn't necessarily be still in the same program. But now I'm getting the feeling that I'm going to be able to be in this program. And this previous head of the program is really asking me about what I think how this program could be improved. He was saying that they've never had anybody who had the skills or the background to really take charge of this program, although somebody else is already taking charge of that program. So there are interesting cross messages, but definitely interested in my opinion, which I thought was wonderful. And when he asked me, are you thinking of coming back? I said, yes, that is my hope and my wish. And he said, well, we wish that too. We want you to come back. And so I was like, oh, pats on backs, pats on backs, pats on backs, right? So then I came back and I felt good, and I finished typing my speech and I started practicing my speech. The length feels good. I finished preparing for this video, and then I went off to dinner because we were supposed to have an opening welcome dinner for the faculty, but that was canceled because they were afraid we'd get COVID if we came here and then went out to eat and then came back. We'd be bringing COVID into the camp. So they decided to move it to a farewell dinner. So we went out for the farewell dinner tonight. And it was good. It was fine. We ate a lot of meat and talked a lot. Some people drank a lot. I didn't drink because I needed to come back here and film this video. So that was my day. Communications. I might have slipped a little. I might have joked a little bit too harshly with one of my co-workers. I didn't get any direct feedback from her about hurt feelings, but I also got the feeling that she didn't really pay attention, but she might have paid attention, and so who knows? I might have slipped a little bit. I might have been a little bit too playful about something trivial, not important. But primarily, I think I was a good boy at dinner tonight. I was primarily a good boy all day. I spent a lot of time with the kids on the floor. And so, yeah. So maybe it was a Hierophant day for me today. And maybe there is the challenge of the Eight of Swords, perhaps in the speech that I'm preparing. Perhaps there's the challenge of the Eight of Swords in the my interest in this camp and their interest in me being at this camp, and perhaps adding my bits of know-how to what we do here, perhaps. And perhaps that reversed advice for the Lover's card might be that that the timing isn't right with this other person, and I could focus on my own self rather than, and not saying that it's time to just leave it alone, don't interact at all, but don't try to rush things, don't try to make things happen. Could be, maybe. What do you think? Let me know. Let me know in the comments below. Does this make sense to you? Do you get the expansive Jupiterian-ness of the day a little bit from me? It's kind of there. The Venus-ness, maybe a little bit there too. The Venus from the Lovers. And maybe there was a lot of communication happening through, similar to the Page of Swords. I'm reading people a little bit. Getting on task and focusing, because I did need to focus to get my speech written. I did need to focus to get this done. Now it kind of makes sense. But if it doesn't make sense, also let me know in the comments below. I would really love to hear from you. And friends, if you want a reading from me, of course, as usual, my email address is in the description box below, thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. Send me an email and we'll get you a reading. It'll be interesting, if not fun. Also, if you want to get these decks yourself, the Tarot of the Holy Light, I've got a link for that below. I highly recommend that deck. If you want the color version of the Egyptian Tarot, I've got an Amazon link to that below. Use that. Go buy one or both of these decks. They're great things to help us, I think, expand as readers, to improve as readers, to grow. If you already use one or both of these decks, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. How do you use them? How often do you use them? Do you use them for specific purposes? And okay, as always, hit the thumbs up button. It helps draw eyes to the channel. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload the videos. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.